Hey guys, I decided to do a video. I am a little bit nervous to do this, but I really do want to get my thoughts out there. I've had so many conversations with so many people the past couple weeks, from my wife to close friends to acquaintances who I don't talk to all the time. Just a lot of separate conversations through various platforms, which has all been great. But I also just wanted to get my thoughts, my feelings, some of my processing out there in this way and on this platform. And that hopefully will open up more conversations, through comments or messages or phone calls or in person, however I know you and talk to you. I just want to kind of keep this conversation going with more people. But also I feel like it will be cathartic for me to get my thoughts out there. This might be a long video. I'm going to try to condense it and cohesively share my thoughts, but I have a lot of thoughts on this. I really do. And normally I wouldn't I don't like to post my emotions and my thoughts, and I'm kind of a little bit self-deprecating, where I have a hard time wondering who even wants to hear my thoughts. But again, I think this is important for me. I know this is important for me. I know it's important for a lot of you out there and people I've talked to and just people in this general community. And so the stuff I'm talking about is obviously the situation with Bethel and Shawn Bolz and Mike Winger and the charismatic movement in general. And so if all that stuff that I just said right there, if that doesn't mean anything to you, if those names don't sound familiar, this video is definitely not for you. You can thank God that you're not being impacted by some of this stuff, and just go do something more useful with your time. So that's just a disclaimer I wanted to give up front. Probably a couple disclaimers I want to give up front is, if you don't know those names, if you don't know what's going on, this is going to be a very niche topic. But again, very meaningful and personal to me and a bunch of others, but this is not for everybody. So wanted to say that. If you don't appreciate joking or me trying to joke or make what I might think are funny comments along the way, this video is probably not for you. There's tons of videos out there that are probably more serious. But again, this is me sharing my thoughts and my personality, I guess. And this is a very serious topic. This isn't a funny topic, but it doesn't matter with me. I can't help it sometimes. So I'll probably try to make it light along the way. In fact, the more serious the topic is, the more joking I attempt to do. Works great in marriage. Any other disclaimers? Let me see. I have a couple notes here. If you are like a personality type that knows the truth and you know the story, you know what this person should have done, and you know what God says about this, and you know, probably not the best platform or best video for you to watch. I don't typically think, and I'm not going to probably speak along those terms. I'm processing my thoughts. I'm processing my feelings. I have different maybe conclusions or things that opinions on and think, about, but it's hard for me to just be like, I know what this person should have done, and I know this was wrong, and I know God says this. That's a different way than I'm used to processing. So if that's kind of you, and I know that's a bunch of people out there. I see that on my socials all the time. They post stuff that says, this is what I think is true, and if you don't think this is true, I don't want to talk to you again. Unfriend me. I want nothing to do with you. And I see that and go, wow, I'm nervous doing this video right now. I'm nervous that I'm going to say something that's just my feelings, and I know people are going to disagree with it. They're going to be upset with it potentially. So I'm just a different personality type than that kind of person. So I do want to mention, though, this is along those lines. I call this the Monty Python effect. I've kind of infamously a few times said or, posted that I don't like Monty Python. And I get a firestorm back at me going, what? No, you're wrong. You should like it. You have to like it. It's so funny. It's the best. And I go, and I have to nuance it. I go, no, I get it. I don't like it. You can like it. I know you like it. You should like it. In fact, we'll say it's the funniest show, and the deficit is on me. I don't get it. That's on me. You're all good. You should like it. But people have a hard time with this. I've noticed because of examples like that. I'll say, "Oh, I don't really like Stranger Things." They go, "No, no, no, no," and I'm like, "No, no, no. I do like it. Like you're trying to tell me like my feelings are wrong. So why am I saying that? It's because I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and feelings, and you might go, "No, no, no, Dan, you're way off. You're wrong about that." Or, okay, you are right. I am wrong, but this is where I'm at. And this is how I'm processing. And I love having conversations with people. And you can tell me why Monty Python is the funniest show ever. And I may or may not ever come to that conclusion. And you can tell me your thoughts on this situation, how it's impacting you, and if you know something or not, or feel something or not. And that's great. I just want to share my thoughts. And it's just kind of a scary thing to do because people have many different opinions, especially when it comes to church and spirituality and politics and all this stuff, and Monty Python, apparently. Anyways, long intro. I'm going to try to get this all out. So my history with Bethel. So this is a personal topic to me. This isn't just a spectator sport and, something's happening and, online and out there, and I just want to comment on it. No, this is very personal. This is not happening in a vacuum. So I went to BSSM back in 2009. I sold my house. I left my job that I had been working at the Christian camp I worked at for 10 years. I left my family, moved across the country from New England to California to go to Bethel school and be part of that community. Sold my house at a loss because I bought in 2007 at the all-time high and sold it when it was very low. And there was a cost to go out there, but I wanted to. And my wife, we, got together a lot around that culture and Bethel and those teachings. And, we got married while I was in school. And then she went out and she went to school with me. And that was where we started our life together. And it's just a big part of me and her story, my personal story. It changed the course of my life, honestly, because even while I was out there, I knew I wanted to come back to New England. And I would ask Eric and Steve and the leaders, I'd ask them, where should I go after this when I leave Reading? And they told me where to go. And I listened to them because I trusted them and I do trust those guys. They're great, awesome people. And it's been an amazing decision to come where they told me to go. And I'm very, very grateful for it. Very, very happy with that decision. But all I'm saying is that changed the trajectory of my entire life, where we live and how we've lived and with who. And it's a big part of my life personally. So it's stuff I interact with a lot. I've interacted with Chris and Bill and all the leaders in various ways. I went to Hawaii with Chris Valentin. I led a Bethel school prophetic trip out there and got to spend time with him. I've spent time with Chris in the car when he's come to my area, and I've picked him up from the airport and just get to spend time together. And, all the leaders in various ways. So I have a bit of a connection with all these different people and Bethel in general. Shawn Bolz is a little bit of a different story, a lot of a different story. I don't know why I said a little. I'm going to say things that are going to when I play this back, I'm going to say, wow, I shouldn't have said it like that. Shawn Bolz is a much different story. I never met him. I'm not a part of his ministry. I have not really enjoyed his ministry other than for entertainment value, I will say. This is where I might start losing some of you guys. If you're like, oh no. Yeah, me and my buddies, some buddies from Bethel or just people I know since probably 2014, 15, 16, we would just watch his videos and as entertainment because they were noticeably, demonstrably, provably false words of knowledge, false prophetic. Just there's a lot of problems with it. And they were off in various ways. I will give another disclaimer. If it sounds like I've made light of Shawn Bolz for many, many years and have been very vocal about how ridiculous a lot of the stuff is for many years, which is all true, I didn't know about the sexual assault allegations until much more recently, like within the past year or so. So For a long time, I just thought he was faking the prophetic words, which many of my friends did too. So I know we're going back to 2016 here, so I'm just going to do that. And sorry, I'm not like a video person, podcast, or whatever. So this is a text message between me and some friends from 2016. We were talking about Shawn Bolz, and so this is just kind of our relationship with Shawn Bolz back then. Me and my buddies would watch his videos. We'd be like, wow, he got this from that, and he got this thing wrong on Facebook, and you can see how he got it wrong. There's so many videos, so many people posting. I want to say this right now, too. I'm about to show some text. I don't want this to come across like, you're bragging about how much you knew. We knew. I'm going to say we, like there's thousands of people out there that knew, that could observe this. This is why I'm making a big reason why I'm making this video. How are we in 2026 and this is just coming out when for over 10 years this has been obvious? Not just to me. I don't have any special abilities. It wasn't like I'm not Michael Burry, like the one guy that cracked the code and going, hey, see, I told you. This should have come out a long time ago. And there's many, many people that do have platforms, which I don't really have a major platform of any kind, that did try to make this come out. And it didn't. And it took Mike Winger dropping a bombshell 6-hour, just huge video that forced this conversation now to happen when so many people were exposing this stuff for so long. And that's this kind of stuff that I've been talking about for 10 years and more, and I'm wrestling with now. Like, I almost feel like in like the movie, is it Ferris Bueller, where it's like the record scratch or whatever, and you just like pause the video and go, like after Mike Winger's video comes out, you just go, you're probably wondering how we got here. I just feel like that with this topic. Anyways, what I'm saying may not be making any sense at all yet, but I'm just going to show you a text between me and my friends from 2016, just to show again that we were on this. Somebody said, we were talking about Shawn Bolz. I'm sitting 20 feet from him right now. I've tried to block out anything that would be personal. And then I said, ask him to give a word of knowledge about me. No cell phone or laptop near him. And my friend said, yes. Dan, we know that no amount of evidence could satisfy your omni-skepticism. My friend was joking with me there. Kind of being cheeky, whatever. Playing into that. But it's like, we knew then about that stuff. Not the only ones. Many other people did. I have other text here from... this was from December of 2019. Some of you aren't going to like this, but I was just trying to have fun with it. Somebody was saying, he's going, to a event near him, Shawn Bolz. Yeah, this is good. If he's coming somewhere near me, we will set the whole thing up for him. Lots of false info and hashtags. Change my name on Facebook for a while. I talked to a bunch of friends about doing that. I never did. Don't worry. These are just funny ideas I had with my friends. Would I have done it? Maybe, but I didn't do like a fake Facebook profile and hashtag the event like leading up to it to see if he'll take the bait. But we knew that was a real possibility. Oh, here's another one. I posted this 2019, I guess, February of 2019. This is a screenshot of one of Shawn's Instagram posts. He posted this meme, when Shawn Bolz prophesies to you in a crowd of 70,000, which I just thought was funny that he posted that meme. And I said, if you want to know how amazing Shawn Bolz is and how many cool people he knows, you have to follow him on Insta. Also, if you have a Facebook profile and attend one of his meetings, you have a good chance of getting a scary, accurate word. I've been talking about this for a very long time. I recently went on a trip to a Yankees game with a good friend of mine, and I think I spent the first hour talking about Shawn Bolz and this stuff, and not just Shawn. It's not just about Shawn. It's about our culture that I'm a part of, that I've been a part of, that I've moved across the country to be a part of, that I've spent hours and hours talking to friends about, whether they wanted to hear about it or not. Some of us did. Me and my buddies, we would watch videos on this and we talk about it. Is it true? How is he doing this? And then we would watch a bunch of like Mormon propaganda videos after that. We'd be entertained by that, and scarily those two things somehow worked really well together. That was a cohesive transition for us to go from watching some of these videos to watching some of those videos and talking about it and talking about just all the stuff that I've been talking to you guys about and wrestling with for so many years. How do we discern this stuff? Are we being deceived? Are we being willfully ignorant? Are we being too skeptical? Do I have omni-skepticism? What's going on here? But I just, this is stuff that comes up. And now we're being forced in a very much more mainstream, global way. We're all talking about it now instead of just little conversations and people trying to bring it up and just being pushed down. And it's like, how did we get here? And this video is me sharing my thoughts and processes with this whole thing, not to bash anybody. And again, it's not even about Shawn Bolz. Shawn Bolz was obviously bad at this to so many people. So it's just an easy target. He's beside the point, honestly. He's really beside the point. This is more about us. It's more about our church culture, our leadership structures, people we trust, our own personal churches, and mostly our own personal responsibility with who we follow and why, no matter what other leaders are saying. I'll probably get into that a little bit more later. I've been seeing tweets, I'll call them tweets, even though it's not Twitter anymore, from a guy named David Fish, who I don't know, we're kind of mutually connected to a bunch of people, but he's a young guy. He's been doing some really awesome posts. Here's one that I really appreciated, that just I resonated with so much personally. So again, I'm just showing that this is not like some great, amazing gift that I had or my friend had or even David had regarding this whole story with Shawn Bolz. But I like this post. He said, the demonization of the intellect is in large part responsible for the ongoing crisis within the charismatic movement. When I came to believe that Shawn Bolz was giving fraudulent words in 2016, it was only through a common sense investigation done by a friend. I didn't have a word from the Lord that Shawn was false, nor did I need one. I didn't have a check in my spirit. My friend presented the evidence, and I investigated it. Yes, there is such a thing as radical skepticism that admits no evidence beyond the reason and the mind. But there's also such a thing as radical gullibility, which admits no evidence beyond the emotions and the heart. Jesus commands us to love him with our heart and mind. When we falsely pit these two things against one another, we will fail to love God well, and thus will fail to love others well. Many charismatics truly and genuinely love God with their heart, but they do not love him with their mind. Until this paradigm shifts, we'll have one Shawn Bolz after another. I really resonated with that. This kind of follows a lot of my thoughts and my story as well with this topic. And that's just been my experience in this movement, and something I've openly talked about, again, to whoever would listen, whatever small platform or circles of friends I have. This whole thing, like reason, logic, evidence, questions, bad. Blind trust in somebody who apparently is gifted, very good. And I'm like, again, sometimes feel like the professor or whatever in the movie with all the papers, like, wait a second, but that thing, they just prophesied something that didn't happen. They prophesied the end of COVID in like March of 2020, said this is done, it's over. It's like, are we not going to talk about this? This person is batting like a 0% track record, or like a 2% maybe, but even a broken clock, right, twice a day. But you get labeled as critical, religious spirit. And I might be, after posting this video, I'm very nervous for some people to see this, because these kinds of thoughts are called dangerous in this movement. But I feel like because we've labeled these questions and thoughts, and because a lot of these questions can be done with radical skepticism and wanting to disprove, it does kind of hurt people that just want to know the truth and are asking honest questions and trying to honestly assess what's happening in this community. If somebody is a bad actor, it almost, the rules we have about never question what everybody else seems to like just makes it so that we have to take the foolishness, because the worst thing would be thinking critically or saying something bad about somebody is like the worst thing you could do. And I feel like that's kind of worked against us in a lot of ways. Here's another post by David Fish that I appreciated. He said, he posted this 2024, said, rule number one of the old charismatic guard: the actual problem is not the problem. You talking about the problem is the problem. That resonated with me as well, and I know a lot of people. That's the way that a lot of these issues that are now coming up, that have been there the whole time. There's been some major bad stuff going on in the movement for forever. It doesn't mean the whole movement's a fraud. There's such nuance here, I feel, and there really is. There's such nuance here. But there's been a lot of bad stuff happening. But because we have not been encouraged, and actually we've been like chastised, if we look at the bad stuff, because of, I think, a spiritual bypassing. I know that's a buzzword, but I'll try to get into that as well. And trying to twist some sort of spiritual principle as to why we can't look at this bad stuff, even though there's victimization and just, again, I'm going to say the word foolishness a lot. There's a lot of foolishness happening. Our principles largely encourage the foolishness because of some spiritual principle we've invented, or maybe it's real, I don't know. But we demonize people that try to address problems. And I think that aspect of this movement is now coming to an end. And I think that's a good thing. I think a lot of this exposure is a good thing. I've had a couple friends really distraught this week about, oh no, this is bad. And this is sad, which it is. It's sad. It's bad that all this exposure, not that the exposure is happening, but they're like, this is bad. It looks so bad and it feels so bad. And this is bad. And I try to respond with, no, this is good. We want the bad stuff exposed so we can see the good, so that what's left is the good. You can look at Hillsong and IHOP and now what's happening here. And I could keep listing names. The exposure of any of that bad stuff is good. It's difficult, though, and everybody's going to have a different experience with it and different opinions on it and what should have happened and all that. I can't talk to a lot of that, again, because I don't know. I wasn't part of all these scenarios, but change that's positive and means less people being fooled and victimized and sending your hard-earned money and your life savings, that's bad. That's a lot of foolishness that we tolerated for whatever reasons. And I'm just here kind of saying, like, why? What caused us to tolerate some of this stuff? Oh, one thing. So me and my wife watched the Bethel sermon on Sunday, which was very emotional. Again, these are spiritual leaders that we respect and have followed for a long time and have spent time with personally. It was tough. I think my wife cried through the whole thing. I was on the edge of my seat, just hanging on to every word. And a lot of the stuff they said was good, but it was also difficult that we got there. And I remember something I think Chris said it in his message. He said, when he was talking to Shawn, he said, Shawn, like, please, you come out now. You repent now. If you do it, it'll be better if somebody else has to do it. Now is your chance to come out. And I do feel like, with how Bethel handled things, they were forced to come out by Mike Winger and just these loud voices. So it makes that sermon on Sunday difficult to really process, like, because they had to. I wish they had come out years ago when they knew what was happening, but they kind of forfeited their opportunity to come out willfully, and they had to respond. So I don't know how to kind of think through. And I know a lot of people are saying that it's the apology and all the repentance and all the words they said don't matter because it's too late. I don't want to say that, but because I do love a lot of what they said, but I also do acknowledge that I wish this stuff had come out because it seems so obvious. And again, especially if you're an apostolic movement with prophetic leaders who focus on discernment, leading huge global movements, calling yourself apostles, there should be like a high level and standard for protecting that movement. And it seems not just with Bethel, but with all of them, the whole system, the whole, from Bethel's and Cheon and Patricia King and this person, and all the people are just playing hot potato with, well, I have no authority. It wasn't really my responsibility. Nobody is taking the responsibility, and I don't know whose responsibility it is. Really should have been Shawn's, but it is Shawn's. But when you are leaders of an apostolic movement that then fails to shepherd or protect or to lead and guide and disclose, it just makes it hard to follow that leadership. That's all. Not saying people are disqualified. Although some of these decisions by some of these leaders out there and some of the people in this movement seem like disqualifying decisions that were made. From my perspective, I know that's a lot for some people to hear, but when you take on being the leader of an apostolic movement and platforming other people and bringing them into your environment and just releasing them onto your people, that does come with a weight of responsibility, I think. There's something that kind of complicates this, though. It's called, I'll call it the nice guy effect. It could be a guy, could be a woman. So the nice person effect is that we look to some of these leaders. Bill is a great example. He is such a nice guy, and I know people that are his family, and I know people that are very close with him, and they all speak very highly of him, and he is very nice, and I've never had one bad interaction with him, and I've never heard of people having one bad interaction with him, and there are so many leaders like that. And a lot of the other leaders that are out there that are being accused of this and that, people say, well, they're so nice. They are just such warm, lovely people, and they welcomed me in their home, and they did this, and they preached this that touched my life. Yes, nobody is disputing any of this. But I don't want to conflate somebody being a nice person to being somebody that's making the right decisions in leadership and leading a global movement well. Nice person and making good leadership decisions that you should trust and you should follow all their teachings and you should just obey them. Those might be two different things, and we have a hard time because we do the nice person thing, and I love their personality. I love the way they preach. That's great. What they're doing here might be damaging you or other people, or it might not be the best decision, and we need to be able to separate our love for somebody. We do this with politics, right? We form these teams. So this is very obvious. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here, but we do the team thing with politics. I know so many people like this. Everything Trump does, they will 100% love. Or we see this a lot too. People just hate everything he does. And we see this along party lines all the time. We see this with church lines too. We have a very similar team mentality. Well, I'm on team Morningstar, and everything they do, I just agree with. And I'm on team, Chris Vallis, or I'm on team Shawn Bolz, or whatever. And we do that same thing that we do with politics. And once we identify with them, because that's my team, Bethel's my team, Todd White is my team. I'm on team Todd. It's that's really tough. I'm on team Trump. Now my identity is wrapped up in him. And if he says something crazy, then wow. Well, I just have to go with that because that's my team and I got to somehow defend it. Or if I'm on team Biden and he says something crazy, oh boy, now you got to work overtime to try to, let my team seem like the good team. And we just wrap our identities in these movements, and it inhibits us from thinking, I don't know, objectively a lot of times, and skeptically in a good way, and critically, I should say, because skeptically is probably the wrong word, but critically and just integrously, if that's a word. Personal private revelation is another thing that's really, I think, been a difficult and just such a huge part of this movement in general. This is so it's a little bit of a tangent, but it has a lot to do with this broader movement, if you want to call it the charismatic movement. Certainly a huge part of this movement is centered around personal, private revelation. God speaking to you personally, privately, and you have these thoughts, these words, these revelations. And my interaction with it is that it happens a lot, and it's thrown around a lot, and it's used in many ways, mostly by very well-meaning people believing they're saying the words of God. But there is a lot of emphasis locally and corporately on personal, private revelation in this stream, in this movement. And it's kind of like hitting God mode on a video game, right? If you play God mode, you're always going to win. Like, that's the end of it. Like, that's just like the cheat code. A lot of times, if you pull out the God says card, well, what is somebody else going to say to that? Like, you're having a discussion or whatever, and we should do this, we should do that. You're in a leadership meeting, you're in a marriage situation, a friend situation, whatever it might be, and it's like, well, God said this. Okay, well, I guess we're going to go with what God said. It's an interesting dynamic. And now you get into a larger scale where people are now declaring things over other people. Well, God said this about you. God said this about this church. God said this leader did this thing right or wrong. And that's tough to navigate through. And again, if you hit that God mode button, it really can shut down conversations or can be used to manipulate people. Obviously, in this conversation that I'll get back to in a second, we're talking about some bad actors in this world that do use the God said thing to manipulate people. Not just talking about Shawn here. I'm not talking about Beth. I'm talking about any of the people that are using God's name in vain, saying God said this when they know he didn't. That's a really dangerous thing to be doing. It's fairly blasphemous stance to take. Now, most people aren't using it like that. They're not using it to injure, to do harm, or manipulate. It's just people saying, well, God said this, God said that, and they're trying to do what God said or tell people what God said. It's just something I have some tension with. We don't hold things in tension very well in this community. Is kind of what the point I'm getting at. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with trying to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I've tried not to use that phrase because that phrase could come up over and over in this conversation, but it's true. Like, that we do the tension thing bad. Oh, well, you said one thing false. Now you got to be stoned, right? That's how some people, view it because it's in the Bible, the Old Testament. That's extreme. But then there's some people that like, yes, tell me more. What's your next revelation? I know your last 17 weren't true, but I love this. I love personal private revelation. And it's almost like that nice person thing. Like, well, this is a nice person and I like them and they're saying what God says and I like God. What could be wrong with that? Well, it could be a distraction. And if we're not honest with ourselves, if we do have a tendency towards just believing it all without being able or feeling allowed to question and be critical in just a reasonable, rational way, which could be part of our principles that says to not do that because that's not the godly thing to do, it just creates an interesting environment is all. I'm going to stop talking about that. I'm going to get back into the situation, but I do want to say one other thing. Humans are very reactionary, right? We see this. So I talked about like the team thing before, but we do this thing also where it's like we see the Baptists and we're like, well, those Baptists they're too Baptist. You know what I'm going to be? I'm going to be charismatic. And not only that, I'm going to be super duper charismatic because, the Baptists are too Baptist. Then the Baptists go, I'm going to be even more Baptist than before because those people are really charismatic, and we do it politically too, right? This is obvious. We see progressives and then you go, well, I'm going to be like really old school conservative. And then the progressives go, oh, you thought that was progressive. I'm going to be extra super duper progressive, right? We do that. We do that all the time. We got to watch out so that we're not reacting to something else, like with the prophecy thing, like, oh, you don't think prophecies for today? All I'm going to do now is prophesy. That's the whole thing. My whole movement, my whole ministry. Forget exegesis. That sounds like a Baptist word. All I'm saying is I think we need to do a better job of trying to hold things in tension and not being too extreme with things just as a reaction. Different streams do things better than others. I think in the charismatic stream, we have a harder time like talking about conflict, talking about problems. Like this feels yucky to a lot of people in the stream, all this stuff that's happening, exposure, and this person was doing bad things, and this person was fraudulent, and the words weren't real words. And it seems like in this stream, the thing that we do bad is talking about bad things and negative feelings. Maybe there's a lot of like word of faith influence that goes, no, I don't have bad feelings, I don't have bad thoughts, and nothing bad around me is happening, right? That's taken to an extreme, but there's a lot of that kind of sentiment instead of going, there is something bad happening and we're going to address it so that we can get to a better place. And it's not going to be unlucky for me if I deal with a tough subject or deal with a tough emotion. And it doesn't mean we have to stay there and that's all we're going to focus on, again, because that would be reactionary. It's all bad. All we can do is now focus on these bad people out there in the church and these false words. No. We're going to deal with the bad so we can have the good. One other thing I want to say too is, I kind of relate this. I've said this a couple times to people. Trust is earned, right? In a relationship, you don't just trust somebody just for no reason. I mean, maybe you do at the beginning because you have no reason not to trust, but it kind of starts neutral. But then that person earns trust. But say you're in a marriage and the person you're married to or dating is cheating. You have evidence of cheating. You have inclinations of cheating. And then it's kind of proven, or they're also violent, and they're lying. You have all these things. They start to break your trust, right? And some things just might look bad, like a text message that was deleted or something, or they're at a place they said they weren't. And all these things might be going on, and you're losing trust because that's the actions that are being done. But then you say, okay, well, we're getting a divorce. And then they go, no, I'm so sorry. It was all bad. Now I see that I was lying, I was cheating, I was being manipulative, I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, I'm really glad for the apology. That is awesome. But I don't just trust now, right? You got to now earn trust back. Because the apology and the repentance and the tears came when I said it's over. This is too much. Now, why am I saying this? Well, it's kind of obvious. This is just how I kind of feel about my stream, right? And in the broader stream in general, what's happened is the people made so much noise and had so much evidence over such a long period of time. And now, yes, there's an apology and there's tears shed by not just the leaders, but the us watching it. And there's this heartfelt connection between the leaders and now the people again. But it doesn't just mean that everything's okay. Now we can just move on because, finally there's like an acknowledgement of it. Now we rebuild trust, just like in a relationship, just like in a marriage, because some trust has been broken. And it's not fun. It's not great. It's not good that we're here, but it's what is. And sometimes you just got to acknowledge what is. We can't live in this idealistic place of, well, I liked it before when it felt good, or I didn't want it to be here. Well, that doesn't matter. We're living in what is. And now we got to face that, and now we got to deal with it. But yeah, I'm confused by a lot of things that happened. I'm confused by the sequence of events in my stream and the people I've been observing for 10, 15, 20 years in various streams. I'm confused how we got here, and I'm confused as to exactly what happened. And I'm okay admitting that. Obviously, I'm putting out a video just sharing some of my concerns for people I love in the churches and in my friends that aren't in church but are following this and impacted by this, and the leadership. There's a lot of connection here that impacts me, and then I'm impacted personally by this. So it's just, I want to be in this conversation. I want to be honest with my feelings in this space. And yeah, there's confusion. I go, you knew back then, but then I see events after you knew about this and this. I see an event where you say this stuff about this person and that person. This isn't just about Shawn. Let me be clear. There's multiple people, multiple things that are confusing to me. And that is one thing that, again, with the Sunday sermon at Bethel, again, I'll go to my stream on this. All they talked about was Shawn. And again, I'm like, that's good. There's an apology for that one thing. But it's like, again, in a relationship situation, if there was cheating and lying and violence, and you go, I'm so sorry about the cheating, that time, and you just focus on that. It's like, there's other things that are concerning to me. And in that situation, you love that person. You don't want to leave that person. You don't want to be betrayed by that person. There's a love there. So I don't see why we can't love, but also just share hurt, confusion, broken trust, and hope to rebuild that if that can happen. But I want it to be done in good faith. I want this to be a good faith conversation between leaders and people, and not just we had to apologize, so we did, and now can we move on? It's like, no, we're going to sit here. And I think Bethel is doing a good job of sitting here. I've actually gotten some emails as an alumni, and they're going to try to have more conversations. And what Dan Fairley said was amazing about, if you want to talk about this for 1, 2, 3, 6 months, we're here for it. This is good. This is good, because I think we need that. Just like in a relationship, it's not just going to go away because there was one good repentance. Now we got to deal with the issue, because it's been there for so long in various ways. Again, not just with Shawn, but again, kind of going back to the beginning of the video when I did share like my history with and other people's history with seeing the stuff from Shawn that's been going on for a very long time, that was very clear and obvious to a lot of people, not just myself, but friends of mine, other people that were out there that were talking about it. A part of confusion for me is just, why is it so obvious to me, just a regular person with an average intelligence, but these apostolic leaders, whoever you want to pin it on, Cheon or Bill Johnson, Chris Valentin, Patricia Kane, all the names that are thrown out there, how come they didn't see it? Because they're smarter than me, and they've appointed themselves in this structure of oversight and covering and leadership, and they're prophetic and apostolic. That's what they've decided to do, and that's okay. But that comes with the responsibility to be able to see things. So again, some of the confusion just comes down to is it willful ignorance? Is it blatant deception? Or is it just gullibility? I don't know what causes all these leaders to not just with Shawn, that was my example, but with all these people that are doing some of these bad things that are known about. Is it just being blind to it on purpose, or are there parts of our culture that are working against us? Are there things and core values that we hold on to tightly because of some spiritual principle that, whether it's real or not, we say, well, it's good to just, be positive all the time and never talk about things in a negative way. It's good to always have faith in people. It's good to have exorbitant amounts of grace towards people. Whatever these principles are they working for us? Because there's a lot of people being hurt, it seems, in a lot of different churches, not just one. In a lot of different streams, there's some abuse happening because of principles that may be working for the platformed speakers and working for a movement, but not for the people. And I think that's the conversation that's coming out now, and we're having now finally in a much more broad way. But it took a lot of people. It took people like Jubilee Dawn, her life was nearly ruined, right? She didn't have to go through what she went through. If we had just observed things in a more honest, ethical, reasonable way, without principles that might be saying, you know what, if we expose that guy, the prophetic movement will be impacted. Honestly, I don't know what that means. I do, but I choose not to. I choose not to even fathom what that means. Because again, that's just a bit confusing and seems like just a misalignment of where priorities should be. A lot of people out there didn't need to be hurt, but were we protecting the top people at the expense of the regular people? It seems like in some cases this has been happening in many different branches of this movement and many other movements around the world. It's being exposed, so we're just gonna acknowledge it. We're just gonna deal with it. One thing I really want to emphasize here, though, I've mentioned a lot of names, of people in different various platforms and people that are doing good things, bad things, whatever. This really all does truly come down to personal responsibility, though. Like, it's not Cheon or Bill Johnson or Mike Winger's responsibility for who you follow and what you believe. Those people can help, they can teach, they can train, they can inform, but and we want the ones that are trustworthy, we want to maybe lean on a little bit more. But in all of this, we all have our own personal responsibility as to what we do, who we follow, what we believe. And we can't just blindly join a team and have willful ignorance towards any other extenuating circumstances that might be happening. We need to take on our own personal responsibility for all of this. So I just do really want to emphasize that very strongly. We're having a big conversation here with a lot of elements. We're acknowledging some bad stuff, and it's like it's not our fault. It's not Bill Johnson's fault. Might be Shawn Bolz's fault. He's an example, right? He's an easy target, but this comes down to why. Why did we choose to follow him? Why are people still choosing to follow other people that are out there that seem like they're damaging people and movements? That's our responsibility now to step up, and as a community, as friends, in these conversations, just kind of help us make wise decisions and own our own decisions and not see our relationship to God through platformed celebrity speakers. One other aspect that I see happening a lot here too, and I'm going to close very shortly. I'm not trying to make a 5-hour Mike Winger-esque video. I just got a lot of thoughts to get out. I did mention, I think, spiritual bypassing early on. It seems like that's a response I'm seeing a lot from a lot of people. And it sounds good, right? And it sounds like the good response. It's almost like the God mode response. It's God says this. Of course, what are you going to say to that? People going, oh man, there's videos coming out about this person being bad and that person did the wrong thing. I don't watch that. I focus on Jesus. Well, that sounds perfect, right? And there's nothing you could argue about with that, except unless it's a spiritual bypass, unless Jesus is focusing on cleaning up his church, unless Jesus is focused on being with the victims who were largely ignored in many different streams, in many different circumstances for a long time. Maybe you going, instead of watching a video on something negative, I'm going to have an extra long worship session. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Unless you're doing it so that you don't acknowledge something that maybe Jesus is actually in. He's maybe acknowledging that there's some bad stuff happening out there, and that doesn't scare him. It might scare you. It might be against your core principles. You might think it's not in the Bible or whatever, even though it seems like it clearly is, to confront things that are happening poorly, wrongly in the church, between other people. Whatever your theology on this is, whatever your personality is on this, just let's not spiritually bypass and say things that just seem like such the right thing, but are actually working against us, right? Just as long as our principles aren't working against us. Yes, we want to be where Jesus is, but maybe Jesus is in getting the bad out of the church so that we can have more of that pure, good connection with him, and the more pure, good worship with him, and there's less victimized people with him, and more people can come into the church and it's a safe place with him. This is all about Jesus. This is all focusing on that. Really, that's like where I'm at. That's what I'm suggesting is, like, I'm not here to go scorched earth on this whole thing. I'm not there yet. I want this thing to be restored. I want this movement, whatever you want to call it, I've said that too many times, but this stream, this expression of the church to be healthy. And maybe it seems like, and I keep saying, I soften these things with the word maybe, and I don't know, but like the celebrity platformed megastar speakers and leaders that we all are channeled to God, maybe it's just not working out the best. Actually, my friend Matt Spinks just posted something. I'm gonna throw that on the screen as kind of one of my final things here. Matt's a good friend of mine. I thought this post was really good. It's finally a wonderful day of reckoning for the charismatic church, with so many corrupt leaders being exposed. He's not scared of this. I love the authentic spiritual gifts and healthy church life. So I'm rejoicing over here at some of the false being rooted out. This stuff happens in every denomination and secular society too, by the way. Here, this is a good part here. But history will repeat itself. Until we truly realize that the body of Christ is a conversation among equally valued and listened to members, participating at a round table with no hierarchies, no super spiritual superstars above one another, in Trinitarian fashion, a fruit of rich Christology. And this is just a cool image he put there, which I can't get on the screen, but I thought that was a great post. We're a equally valued and listened to member church. Sure, we have leadership structures. I'm not saying that we're going to throw out the whole thing. There can be no mega churches. There can be no leaders. But really, in essence, Christ did come for this church that is just this communal body and group of people that are supposed to sit at a round table and just focus on him. And we've been distracted by a lot of noise and a lot of flashy stuff out there, and the words and all the principles and the books and the teachings, and some of that is really good stuff. And some of it is just pure circusry and a complete distraction from this communal union with God, with each other. And that's the thing that a lot of these speakers that are going out there doing their thing and making noise, that's the thing that's missing, I think, from a lot of them. And frankly, in a lot of our dynamics in this stream is just a pure, simple, but powerful gospel message. Just like Matt said, just the Trinitarian gospel. That should be the focus. That should be the predominant focus, way more than a revelation about a dream you had and you went in a chariot and you did this and it's all symbolic and it's great. Let's let the main thing, though, be the main thing. Let's let the gospel, the simple but powerful truths of what Christ did, the gospel message, the union with God through Christ, let's let all those things be so predominant and such the key thing that we can bring other stuff in, but it doesn't take away and it doesn't distract from the main thing being the main thing. That's where culture is going. That's where my friends and the stats on young people say that's where people are wanting to go, is just a more orthodox, more traditional, simple expression of faith. Again, that's just what is right now. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Again, this is not to get rid of any certain church or movement, but maybe we're in a reformation of what this church and movement can look like. And we can incorporate all the good spiritual principles, just like Matt's saying, it's the good stuff is good. The spiritual gifts are good. But in context, in this gospel-centered, rich, vibrant community of believers where we're not channeling all of our spirituality and all of our identity through one leader, through one church that's making a lot of noise, and unfortunately in some situations making a lot of mess. There isn't truth that I'm scared of. And I'll end with this. I think we got to remember that. The truth is good. Sometimes the truth can be sad to find out if we thought something was true that wasn't true, but I'm not scared of any truth being revealed. I'm scared of truth not being revealed. I'm scared of truth being covered up. I'm scared of truth being manipulated, bad actors manipulating the truth. I want the truth to come out in regards to miracles, prophecy, healings, leadership advice, what direction the church should go in, what God says. I want the truth of all that, whatever that looks like. There's no truth that is going to scare me. And I hope the same for all of us, that we pursue the truth, that we pursue the good things, and we keep just staying together as a community. I have no good way to end this video. It's probably very long, and I'll stop right there.